Episode 693. At a loss, the manager adjourned the meeting. It hadn't yielded a single result he'd hoped for, only a grim sense of how dire things had become. He had no choice but to pick up the phone.
Boss!
Most players in the online game world kept an eye on the pro scene, but pro news rarely had a direct impact on their day-to-day gaming lives. Dungeons were run, quests were grinded, and PKs were fought. For Excellent Era's fans, though, the team's pathetic performance was a source of deep embarrassment, a ready-made punchline for their rivals to mock in every clash. Shen Yehui managed the online game guild, so the team's poor performance had nothing to do with him. But as a core member of the club, he could clearly feel the heavy atmosphere hanging over the place. Shen Yehui still hadn't dared to ask what exactly happened after Lu Hao and his crew showed up last time. At the club, he ran into Lu Hao, but Lu Hao seemed completely distracted. He didn't even look at him, just drifted right past. He Ming, Shen Jin, Zhang Jiaxin, everyone who had a chance to see was weighed down by their own thoughts. As for the team captain, Sun Shang, Shen Yehui quietly made some inquiries. Word was he kept himself locked in his room, never seeing anyone unless it was time for meals or mandatory training. This was looking pretty serious. Shen Yehui didn't dare make any rash moves. Until someone came looking for him, he decided to just slip back into the game and quietly do his job. That was the safest bet. The rest of the game world chugged along as usual, but the manhunt for Lord Grimm and Deception still dead in the water. Every major guild knew the truth. Their bounty list might have a dozen names, but 6 out of 7 were just window dressing. Lord Grimm. Only Lord Grimm was their primary target, so only when they received news of Lord Grimm would they take it seriously. As for everything else, just go through the motions. But what about Lord Grimm? They'd received plenty of leads these past few days, but so far, they hadn't laid eyes on a single person. They were starting to wonder if the people sending in reports had actually seen Lord Grimm, or if they were just messing with them. The major guilds later insisted that anyone sending intelligence must confirm the target and keep it under surveillance until their own people arrived. But then he thought about it. Who exactly were they supposed to be tracking? Yi Chu. 3 major guilds mobilized hundreds of players, and they still managed to lose their target in a small wilderness town's leveling zone. And they expect a single online gamer to keep tabs on Yi Chu? The only hope was that Yi Chu himself didn't care, and was letting himself be watched on purpose. But now, in this situation, would Yi Chu really be so careless? Clearly, that wasn't the case. A few days had passed. Lord Grimm was online every day, but never once showed his face. The intelligence reports reaching the major guilds began to thin out. Clearly, after the initial wave of excitement, plenty of people had stopped deliberately heading to the low-level zones to try their luck. Could this be another wasted effort? Every major guild was baffled. They'd thrown money, the ultimate weapon, at Lord Grimm, and still couldn't take him down. A week flew by, and the Pro League's weekly round kicked off again. Beyond the usual scramble for a top 8 spot, more Glory fans were now keeping an eye on who might get eliminated. In a long-distance points race like the Pro League, 1 or 2 bad games aren't enough to decide the outcome. The 2 teams that usually get eliminated are the ones that genuinely lack the strength and have been trailing the entire season. But in the first half of this season, Excellent Era had been mired in a slump with one poor performance after another. After swapping out their ace for a few matches, this kind of total collapse made it feel like Excellent Era was back. The fierce contender for elimination had returned. If Excellent Era really gets eliminated, that would be a major event. The history of Glory's competitive scene was still young. This was only the 8th season, far too short for a tale of a great club's rise and fall. But now, it looks like Excellent Era just might pull it off. This champion team, the first to build a dynasty in the league, could it be that they didn't want to miss out on even this kind of opportunity, hoping to leave another bold stroke in Glory's history? Among the major media reports, there was no shortage of such sarcastic commentary. After all, while Excellent Era was no longer the invincible force it had been during its 3-year championship streak, it had always remained a top-tier powerhouse. This sudden sprint toward elimination came out of nowhere, with absolutely no gradual build-up, as if it was deliberately orchestrated to spring a surprise. Excellent Era's enemies gloated, while their supporters worried. Under the watch of countless eyes, a new round of matches began. This round, Excellent Era faced off against Team Samsara on the road. Samsara hosted All-Star Weekend this season, but unfortunately, the home team failed to steal the spotlight. But after All-Star Weekend, Team Samsara's form was remarkably sharp. For Excellent Era to run into a team on such a hot streak right after a humiliating defeat, it's unfortunate, but it's also an opportunity. Clearly, if they wanted to beat Samsara, they'd need to put in a lot more work. But if they could snipe Samsara right when they were riding high, that would be a hell of a statement. Could Excellent Era pull it off? The anticipation for this match had already spread beyond Excellent Era's own supporters. This match, Happy Internet Cafe broadcasted it in full. Broadcasting the most watched match was Chen Guo's current principal, and she didn't deliberately avoid Excellent Era team. This round of the league's most watched match was this one. That much was obvious. So that night, Happy Internet Cafe was packed again, but the atmosphere was suffocatingly heavy. Other places might have plenty of neutral fans watching this match, but here, almost everyone was rooting for Excellent Era. Every single one of them had their palms slick with sweat. As the match was about to officially begin, there was no commotion, no applause, no loud cheers for their favored player. Everyone sat in silence, watching the start with bated breath and anxious hearts. In the individual competition, Su Mucheng secured the first victory, lifting everyone's spirits. Then came the second match. Vice Captain Lu Hao stepped down, and the atmosphere in Happy Internet Cafe grew noticeably livelier. Chen Guo even allowed herself a small sigh of relief. She had viciously wished for Excellent Era's utter ruin, but after seeing the lonely, dejected look on Yeshu's face that day, she suddenly found herself hoping they'd do a little better. There was no doubt about it. Chen Guo was a textbook fangirl, her entire world revolving around her idol. Su Mucheng is still with Excellent Era, after all. If Excellent Era ends up in too much trouble, wouldn't that put Su Mucheng in an awkward spot too? Thinking of this, Chen Guo found herself hoping even more that Excellent Era would step up.